As NATO leaders meet in Europe, a new security challenge is emerging in the Pacific. China is spreading its roots. It may end up with a military base in the Pacific. The Americans are throwing a fit, but the deal is done. A deal between China and the Solomon Islands. They say it's all about police cooperation, but it will have much wider implications. So let me tell you about it. The Prime Minister of the Solomons visited Beijing. His name is Manasseh Sogavare. If you watch this show, you know who he is, China's man in the Pacific. So indebted to Beijing, financially and politically, that he faces the wrath of his own people. Now, this Prime Minister went to meet President Xi Jinping and he heaped praises on China and its leader. Listen to this.
Mr. President, we watch all the bullying that is happening in the world today. And I admire where you stand amidst all those very trying times. And Mr. President, you are taking the lead, and the Solomon Islands and the small island Pacific countries admire the stance that you take. This speaks of the visionary leadership you continue to take on all the issues that is happening in the world today.
He's calling Xi Jinping a visionary. It says a lot about his own political myopia. The Chinese president reciprocated with this announcement.
I am very pleased to jointly announce with you, Mr. Prime Minister, that China and the Solomon Islands will establish a comprehensive strategic partnership featuring mutual respect and common development for a new era. I wish that the two sides will take the occasion of your visit to enhance strategic communication and deepen cooperation in various sectors.
So they have a total of 9 deals now, including the one about policing. They haven't shared the specifics. All we have is a joint statement with some vague proclamations. It says China and the Solomons are building a quote-unquote comprehensive strategic partnership. They've specified 2 areas, law enforcement and security matters. And I have a quote. This is what it says. The Chinese side will continue to provide support and help to Solomon Islands as needed in strengthening Solomon Islands' police law enforcement capacity. Well, this can mean anything, really. Training the police on the Solomon Islands, or working with them on a real-time basis, or perhaps even deploying Chinese security in the Solomons. You know what that means? A Chinese military post in the Pacific. The U.S. is sounding an alarm. It is demanding answers. The U.S. National Security Council issued a statement. It wants the full text of the agreement. And they have good reason to be suspicious because the new deal builds on an earlier pact, a pact that was signed last year. Again, the details are scarce, but some pages of the draft had leaked. They mentioned the PLA and the possibility of a Chinese military base where Chinese soldiers could potentially be deployed in the Pacific. When these details were leaked, the Solomon Islands denied them. But the rebuttal only added to the mistrust, and China's actions did not help. You see, Beijing is making deep inroads in the islands. They already provide police training. They've donated replica guns, at least 22 police vehicles, 30 motorcycles, 8 drones, and riot control equipment like water cannons. This is what China has given the Solomons in the last year. In response, Prime Minister Sogavare had called for deeper security ties with China. In fact, I have his statement from last year. This is what he said. Going forward, I would like to see a more permanent arrangement in place. I think it is prudent that Solomon Islands and the People's Republic of China start discussion on how we can elevate the current joint training arrangement to a more permanent arrangement with clearly defined expected outcomes which aim at ensuring that police have capability in the long term. Those were Sogavare's thoughts last year. And he made his intentions quite clear. He wanted a permanent arrangement with the Chinese. Now he has it. Where does that leave the West, the US and its allies? Where does it leave them? Outmaneuvered by China, and not for the first time. When the Security Pact was signed, it caught the West by surprise. They were not paying attention to the Pacific. The Americans scrambled. Suddenly, after 3 decades, they reopened their embassy in the Solomons. They reached out to regional players with some help from Australia. They even organized a summit, a US-Pacific summit. But these were all late moves. Now China has a deal that will most likely lead to a military base. In the battle for the Pacific, this round has gone to Beijing.